Time for a video of some translations combined with some absolutely incredible art. And these translations aren't anything too spectacular. There's not really like any incredible insight, but the artwork and everything kind of illuminates itself as you see this festival that takes place here. And this is some event which takes place in i664, and it's so obviously an I when they write it in this, you'll see, on the 7th day of May in that year, divided into 3 days. And it's very interesting, and it's a little out of order, I think, but I think that's the way the book was, because I definitely picked every single artwork from this book. You can see the link below. I definitely recommend you check it out. I'm just going to translate it and toss out some theories about what the heck is going on. Starting with this one, look at this. This is how I close off, so stay tuned for that translation. But what? Was this part of a show? And where was this theater? And wow. Here is the book and the information from archive.org. And we're going to go right into it here with the number 1, and it's really just describing these scenes, but the artwork is fantastic. So this is a snack given in the small park of Versailles. The engagement was given before the dinner in the gardens of Versailles. So I'm not sure about the history of this. I'm sure what we receive for the history is all nonsense anyway. I almost went to Versailles once, but I went to Normandy instead with my dad, which was amazing. But this place also looks pretty fantastic, and I'm sure the history and other truthers out there have dived deeper into this. I'm just going to admire the art and this event and ponder about it. So this one says, the festivities of love in Bitchute, comedy and music represented in the small park of Versailles. The feast of Cupid in Bitchute, a comedy set to the perpetual music of voices and pipes in the garden of Versailles. So some of these, it's interesting. Some of the books on the left side have the French and the right side have the Latin, and some are different. Some have all French, some have all Latin. It's really, I don't know how they were making books back then in i664 or whenever this was made, because this was made after this event, so who knows. This is Rupture of the Palace and the Enchantments of the East, Israel Sylvester Day of the Sculptures of Alcine, represented by a firework. In the middle it says the 3rd day, so it's separated into different days, and you'll see that frequently, 6th day, 5th day, things like that. I'm not sure if they were maybe illustrating the creation of the universe or something with all this symbolism. I don't know what the symbolism was, but it's quite an event, and to imagine it at these times with this elaborateness and tech, unbelievable. Feast in the small park of Versailles, which is in Latin, and this is a ceiling vaulted with tangled branches in a sketch of the royal supper in the gardens of Versailles. So I wonder who Versailles really is. This makes me curious to dive definitely deeper into Versailles. If you all know anything or live near there and have any insight, let me know. There's probably tunnels all over this place. This place looks like a massive structure of ancient potential, and who knows how the origins are. The ballroom overlooks the small park of Versailles, a hall fenced in with leaves and bushes, prepared for leading choruses and dances in the gardens of Versailles. That is pretty awesome. Wow, these buildings, holy Lord, so amazing. All the different stories and mythologies that they're using too are very interesting. The story of Alcine seems to come up a lot, Bitchute and all these other characters. Illuminations in the palace and gardens of Versailles. Nocturnal illuminations, including vases and stands glowing with fire, were suitably placed at the windows of the Versailles Palace and throughout all the areas of the gardens and terraces. That must have looked absolutely incredible. I wonder how it compares to modern festivals and amazing events that we have, but I bet far superior. I'm also curious about the chemistry of the gunpowder-ish fireworks and how they all got different colors, and wow, it just must have been a spectacle. This one says, Alceste, tragedy in music, adorned with ballet entries, performed at Versailles with the marble courtyard of the chateau, illuminated from top to bottom by an infinite light. In the middle it says day 1, or on the top. Then the other translation, the tragedy of Alcestis, decorated with constant song and various dances, was performed in the marble palace of the Versailles, illuminated from every side by torches. So cool. Music concerts under a sheet made in the form of a salon decorated with flowers in the Garden de Trianon, a concert of various musicians under a canopy of leaves interwoven with flowers in the garden named after Trianon. So each one, the French and Latin is slightly different. They all add to the overall impression of everything, but just the elaborateness of these festivals and the grandeur is just something that doesn't even come close. Like what, the Oscars, the Emmys, absolute trash compared to this. There we go. Fourth day, a feast, whose table was set around the fountain in the marble courtyard of the Chateau of Versailles. Above the laquette was a column full of light. It might be the table. The dinner, the table of which was built around the fountain of the marble blocks of the Versailles, above the top of which a column of fire flowed. So I wonder if maybe the Versailles were some, like, just a group of people that were very elaborate, very formal, very amazing. And this one looks a lot like some things we've seen, Tesla and other things. But the fifth day, fireworks over the Versailles Canal, a playful fire from the gunpowder spewed upon the stream of divers. So there were just people all over the water in the canal. When was the canal made? How old is this? Is this a culmination of how much of time culminated to make these events possible and be so grand in places that are so grand with tech that is unbelievable, and just chemistry and everything that's just really awesome? So much must have taken place before that has been eradicated to lead to all this. Sixth day, illuminations around Grand Canal of Versailles representing palaces of the pyramids, fountains, statues, terms, roe fishes. Then nocturnal illuminations around the greater Versailles basin, or the various palaces, pyramids, fountains, statues, terminals, fish, and figures glowing with fire. They just amazing. This is like a world fair in I664 that must have occurred all the time at this festival, which they incorporated song and myth into reality. This is pretty cool. The pleasures of the enchanted island, or the festivities, and the entertainments of the king at Versailles, divided into 3 days and begins on the 7th day of May of the year I664. So obviously I664, but the pleasures of the enchanted island, or the festivities and entertainments of the king. So this is all to entertain the king. And the pleasures of the enchanted island. Where is this island? Want to head to it. First day, this one, this is the tragedy, kind of the Alcine book, which I believe some of this is based on. There you can see that in the thing over there, but here we go. March of the King, first day, and the knights, with all the retinues around the camp of the first day's race. Ring representing Roger and the other enchanted knights in the list of Alcine. So Roger must be a character in this book. I apologize for not doing the research. I am more fascinated by the engravings that are almost impossibly detailed. First day, sidekick to the king and his knights with all suits, without the camp of the ring race, during the opening of the festival, made by the stories of Apollo and of the 4 centuries, seated on a large triumph chariot. So just you can imagine what they have erased from us, the stories that would lead to this type of gathering with people on all different parts, just joining in harmony, knowing these stories, obviously, being raised with them, and where do they stem from? Something we've missed, so much we've lost. First day, ring race disputed by the king, and the knights representing Roger again, and the other knights enchanted in the island of Alcine. So this was just a full-blown performance, the likes of which Vegas could never even touch. And none of these theaters and things that we see today are even close to this. These are incorporating natural settings and amazing things to tell stories. It must have been absolutely phenomenal, the power of the theater back then. First day, again, comparison of the 4 seasons with their retinue of concerts and bearers of presents, in the machine of Pan, flute maybe, and of Diana with their flight of concerts, and of shepherds carrying the dishes during the story of each other before the king and the queen. So these king and queen were just really worthy of all of this showmanship. And consider what our current king is worthy of. Absolutely nothing. First day, feast of the king and of the queen, with several princesses and ladies, served with all the dishes and present facts made by the gods in the 4 seasons. This I'm very curious about. So it's just incorporating they're just like getting everyone involved, telling everybody the theme, the science of the day, the time, the present facts, everything that's happening with the seasons, all in conjunction, all in harmony, all in some magical connection that we can't fathom, sadly. But hopefully we can. We'll dig into this again. This is the first part. Maybe we'll go deeper. Second day, theater made in the same aisle on which the comedy and the ballet of the Princess of Alide were able to represent. So just again showing The theater, amazingly elaborate. The distance, it goes off into the distance. It looks perfect. Every element of the theater is an art form. Every bit of life at this time was so artistic, so detailed, so much attention spent on these masterful details and presentations. Third day, theater stands in the middle of the Grand Estang, representing the island of Alcina, where its enchanted palace appeared, fortified by a small rock in which a ballet of several entrances was danced, and after which this palace was consumed by a firework, representing the breaking of the enchantment after Roger's fruit. So, wow, I gotta dive into that story. So this will be continued, but oh my God, the artwork, the presentation, the celebration. How many other countries around the world were having celebrations like this? How many other Versailles-esque palaces and gardens and lands of absolute meticulous perfection were orchestrated and created back in the day where they had these celebrations? And who was there? Who was going? Were they only for the kings and queens? Or were there more places like this all over the place? Are they left over from ancient civilizations that were repurposed by these royalty? Or was there a gradual, actual flowing history that led to this gradually as things got better and better and through time, and then someone has put the brakes on us in the last several hundred years, and we need to get it back, because this level of grandeur is magic. It is perfect. It is beautiful. It represents what life is, an absolute amazing conglomeration of beauty and detail and immaculateness beyond repair. All of life, it seems like, with this art in these time periods, honored that miracle of the world, of creation, of all of creations. Now that is not the way it is, and it's because people have steered us the wrong way on purpose, intentionally, to make us lose this magic. We must get it back. I hope this artwork boosts you all up a little bit. I know the translations weren't perfect, but whatever, they're pretty cool, and they're very interesting to fathom about this ceremony in this session of greatness that occurred in i664. Whatever the heck that was, whenever it was, who knows, but I love thinking about it. It also makes me wonder if this time that we're yearning for and working for, known as the Great Awakening, is more like going back to the way things were and should always be. And this is actually kind of funny. This amazing artwork, Proscenium for Angelica, Vincitrice di Alcina, actually exhibits the Alcina play that I talked about earlier, which I had to look up again. And here, look, was first performed on January 15th, 1705, and the show was a bust. They say it was not much of a success, and they say its first performance was several years later, 40 years after, where we just heard about that amazing procession and envisioned that it had been going on for a long time. So look at these performances. Think about the lies that are out there, the lies they put everywhere, the dates that they switch around, the things that they tell, their methods for doing it. Oh, it was a bust. It was a terrible performance. Haha. Look at this. This was immaculate. That means the writers were different. Everything, nothing can be trusted from these criminals of information, these thieves of our energy, our life force that we deserve to have back and we deserve to be able in full throttle of. We will. Let's keep pushing it. Bless you all.